This is your Neepawa Town Council Debrief for the September the 20th, 2022 meeting. The debrief will take you through the key issues being discussed by Council and provide a bit more information on what they mean for the town. Several councillors update us on projects within their portfolios, including updates on the new contractor for the handy van and a meeting regarding the Sayward Estate Fund held by the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation, which funds healthcare needs in the area. Councillor Parrott, in particular, reports on a new doctor in the community, as well as works towards a local LPN program. At this time, we have several facilities that could potentially meet their requirements, and while it is as yet unconfirmed, the town hopes for a September 2023 start date for the 18-month program. There is more than enough interest for the community to fill the 25 available spots in the program. Parrott, along with Mayor McCutcheon, will also be attending a summit on rural physician recruitment in Portage.
The Neepawa District Handyman had set out an RFP for a contractor which closed on September the 12th, 2022. We had 3 proposals come in for the job of contractor for the handyman. After reviewing all applicants, we have decided to go with Justin Chikolsky for contracting for the handyman.
Okay, perfect. So how many years is the contract good for?
It's a, well, it's a 5-year contract.
It's 5 years, okay.
We've decided to go with his proposal. We're going to meet with him to sign the new contract, because we do have some new
rules,
some new little things with insurance and liability.
Okay.
He was asking those sorts of questions. We looked into some of that. So, yeah.
Okay, I think I'd just like to compliment the handyman on, it's been, it's just over the years, it's kind of evolved how it occurred, and to actually get back into a tender system, I thought was just such a great idea. And to have 3 tenders goes to show that there were people interested, so yeah, good for you guys.
No, it's really good to have, we've sat down, it's taken us a couple of years, but I mean, we've got some good contracts set up so that it can be sustainable. I think the review process that we had with the government was great. It helped us to kind of find a path that's going to be more successful. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Marika. Anybody else? Councilor Jark.
Yes, last Thursday, Sayward Estates met. Of course, the Sayward Estates is a fund that's managed by the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. Annually, we meet as a group to basically go through with the hospital and the personal care home for them to spend the funds earned through the Sayward Estate. The list of the equipment is always guided by them, and it's the town of Neepawa and the rural partners that get together to make sure that those funds flow properly through the foundation. Rather than getting into actual individual pieces of equipment, which we saw stretchers, storage cabinets, and all things that are critical for the facility. I think what stood out to me the most when we met with those directors of the facility was that the community of Neepawa has the Sayward Estate, that we've been able to add equipment consistently through the years, where many towns and many rural hospitals are forced to fundraise for some of the simplest but yet most necessary items for the hospital. Because we have a Sayward Estate that we know this year was putting almost $50,000 in the hands of the personal care home and the hospital, it really lets them keep their equipment up to date to aid the doctors and the nurses in performing their duties. So on that, I would just like to maybe tack on, and I know this doesn't really fall under the committee portion, but the town of Neepawa does have the ability to take donations, and I was speaking with Liz Sumner, and she pointed out that if people are looking for places that they can donate, they can come to the town of Neepawa and make donations that could go towards a new healthcare facility in the community. If not through the town of Neepawa, there's always the ability to go make donations through the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation as well. Originally, when that fund was created, it was $600,000 that was put in through the Sayward Estates, and that was back in the 90s, and it has delivered hundreds of thousands of dollars to those facilities. So when you're talking about long-term impact on the community, that is a great example of what we can do to benefit everyone from Neepawa going forward.
And you're right, I was sitting at that meeting, and you're right, they are so grateful for that money, right? As you say, it's something they didn't have to fundraise for, yeah, and they just go, wow, this is money that's available every year.
Every year, yes.
No, it's very cool. Thank you, Daryl. Anybody else? Parrot.
Okay, so we put out tenders for the Beautiful Plains Community Clinic to remove and replace and repair, if necessary, anything on the west side of the clinic, which is basically the original portion of the clinic. So that tender should be in the next paper, as well as a tender for building a canopy over the south entrance doors. And people who are responding to the tender will, they'll connect and we'll send out the information to them so they can bid on it, and the tenders will be closing just before the next clinic meeting. And we have the Farm and Leisure Lottery coming up, which does support the clinic, and I am not going to give you the dates just yet because there's a slight delay with the Lotteries Commission getting everything done. They seem to be backlogged a bit. That's okay, it'll still happen. And with the clinic, they put out the announcement that they have a new doctor, and people are, who are wanting to be part of the clients for that new doctor are to contact the clinic by phone or in person to get on the doctor's list. We are working towards an LPN program, and so we've been doing a lot of work trying to satisfy the Dean of the College of Nursing and the requirements that they want for a building. And more details will be coming with that, but we've submitted an application for the program, and so we do have to be approved for that. And we've previously held a night of interest where we had around 90 people show up showing that they wanted to take LPN training, so we'll be doing that again in the near future. We had Minister Clark here, I believe it was Friday.
Yep.
Minister of Municipal Relations, and I imagine Your Honor is going to talk about that little plaque over there later, so we'll leave that for you.
Okay, thank you.
And tomorrow, I have the honor of going with Your Honor.
Well said. Okay.
It's to a summit for the strategies for physician recruitment of strong rural and northern healthcare. So, and that's being held in Portage Prairie, as long as that resolution gets passed today.
So can you just go back to the nursing one again? So it's supposedly going to start next September, right?
Yeah, September of 2023.
It's a 2-year course.
Start date.
And it's a 2-year course.
It's a 18-month course.
Okay.
But they have a 2-year window between courses.
And it can hold 25 people.
25 people.
Correct. Okay. And we've been pretty targeted, like we're pretty comfortable we can come up with a space for this, right?
Yeah, we've got several locations that the sites would meet the requirements. We just have to give them the walls and the dimensions and produce the building. And, there's a lease agreement that will be in there to actually pay for, we'll have revenue coming in from it. So it's a good fit for Neepawa. Of course, we do have a substantial increase in staff requirements for the new hospital, and this is one of the ways that we are trying to address that. And the summit, another way to try and address the physician recruitment.
And I think we're hoping if we got our foot in the door in a 2-year, that maybe we can make it.
Continuous.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
We provide a good location, we provide something that they want to keep.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Murray.
Manager of Operations, Denise Kay, updates council on the status of a number of paving jobs in town including the squaring of the intersection by the Yellowhead Center and the completion of Davidson Street. Both are still in progress, and at the moment, crews are waiting for the cement curbs to cure before they can proceed. Paving crews have been in high demand across the province this year, leading to delays in completion of these local projects. In former CN property news, hydro crews have begun installing the streetlights, and the RCMP building is expected to be completed very shortly. There has been no date set for fall compost pickup yet. That information will be disseminated on social media and through other means as soon as the dates are set.
Denis, you're up. I'm sure we're going to talk about streets at some point.
Yeah, we can talk about some streets. Most notably, paving was completed on Commerce Street West. Residents may notice we had a short disruption in traffic flow down there, but we had Maple Leaf come in and complete paving from Highway 5 all the way up to 3rd Avenue. So we did a new product in that street. So we do with a geosynthetic grid within the paving layers. So we'll try it out and see how that works on some poor soil condition areas.
So the question I was asked was, why only that part of Congress Street?
Because that's the part that we found that it's got contains most silt in the subsoil.
Okay.
The question I was asked is why didn't I dig it all up? And I think it was just, even with speaking with Maple Leaf, they showed a lot of hesitancy because they said once we crack that open, we weren't sure how deep we'd have to go to stabilize that soil.
Okay.
Looking at everything around it. So that's where we made the decision to go for an overlay
Okay.
and try this grid product within the paving. So I'm optimistic it'll work and excited to kind of try something new.
Okay.
Again, we've had people that came back, they returned with their concrete crew. So they were able to do curbing on Mountain Avenue right in front of the Yellowhead. Where we're doing an intersection alignment correction, I guess I would call it. We'll get that skewed intersection corrected. And then we also had them working on Davidson Street. So I have not heard back from them as to when the paving crew will be back to complete the final portion of this work. But we still need to see some cure time on that concrete before they can come anyway. So residents may also know that hydro crews have started the streetlight installation on the CN site. So we have the commercial sector that's getting its streetlights put out. The water treatment plant reservoir project is still ongoing. We're having some programming issues, so we're trying to resolve those all right now and see when we can get that project up and running. The RCMP project is also nearing completion. I think we have a meeting date scheduled now, so we'll have to see if they can hold that target now. There was some minor deficiencies that had to be corrected after RCMP came to do some final inspections. Both subcontractors working on concrete repairs around town. Some of the curbs were broken, utility cuts, sidewalk damage, all that stuff. So they're sporadically moving around town. So ask residents to be patient, and our contractor will get to each location in due time. We have not set a fall pickup date for compost yet. We're kind of waiting to see for essentially that first kill frost to come in, and then we'll start seeing anything. Once we have that, then we'll notify residents to do some Facebook posts, some social media, newspaper, whatnot. Just notifying when pickup schedules will start, so the residents can start putting stuff out.
Okay. Any questions? Any comments? Councilor Jordan.
Just one question, with the paving crews in town, does that include the tennis court location out by Hillcrest?
It should. They
It
told
should.
me it's on the list,
Okay,
just like every other one around town, so
okay,
they're optimistic.
okay.
I just gotta hammer down and find out where that paving crew is and hopefully get some timelines out of them again.
Okay. Councilor Perry?
Can you speak on the extension of Isabel through the old East Water site?
That may be on hold because we had overage on our sewer lining contract. So we'll have to see how our budgets align there. We can't run a deficit.
Next year.
So we're gonna see how everything works out with the servicing of Mill Street, the apartments, and see how they all come together. And come later fall, early winter, if there's still some time, some money left, then I'll be looking at it.
CAO Colleen Sinchishin outlines additions to the tax roll, and Council approves 2 applications to the town's tax incentive program. The incentive program is outlined in bylaw number 3176-17, which states, the purpose of this bylaw is to provide for taxation incentives for new multiple unit residential development and new or expanding commercial and industrial developments. thus demonstrating the town of Neepawa's commitment and readiness to invest in the development of the community. This bylaw and others can be read in full on the town's website at neepawa.ca. This incentive takes the form of a progressive tax credit over 3 to 4 years.
And Colleen, we're into supplemental taxes.
So this is supplementary additions and deletions for the year 2022. Mind you, there are 3 entries that were not captured in 2021. 45 properties will see an addition to the tax roll this year, and 9 will see a reduction. So we've seen additions to the tax roll in dollar value of $198,000 roughly, and deletions of about $10,000. So we have net new addition to the tax roll of $187,690.69.
Okay, perfect. Any questions, any comments? Okay, we'll move forward with that resolution. Moved by Deputy Mayor Headley, second by Councilor Costichuk. Be it resolved that in accordance with Section 326 of the Municipal Act, the Council of the Town of Neepawa approves supplementary additions and deletions to the 2022 tax roll as per information received from the Provincial Assessment Branch. The detailed listing is attached to Schedule A and reflects a net added tax value of $187,690.69. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Colleen, Neepawa Kinsman Senior Housing Initiative.
So following the construction of the Kin2 building, they made an application to our development incentive bylaws that we passed in 2017. The application they made was based on the tax incentive of a multi-unit residential progressive tax incentive for the ability to create 6 or more dwelling units. So the criteria to get that incentive, and it's a phasing in of the basically the progressive tax credit over a period of 3 years, is you have to increase the assessed value of the property by a minimum of $750,000. So just in receiving our supplement that we just passed, Kin2 is actually on there for increasing assessment by a little better than $5 million. So clearly meets the criteria of receiving an incentive. So I'm requesting the credit to the tax roll starting in the year 2022, because I have a full 12 months to work with, of $33,888.50 credited to their roll for starting year 1 this year and 2 more years to be on. At a base of 50% and then 25 following this year, which was 75%.
Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. We'll move forward with that motion. Moved by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Nadeau. Whereas Neepawa Kinsman Senior Citizen Housing Inc. has constructed a 48-suite assisted living facility at 307 Davidson Street and has submitted an application under bylaw number 3176-17 to be considered for a development incentive. And whereas the town of Neepawa is now in receipt of the 2022 supplemental assessment information confirming that Neepawa Kinsman Senior Citizen Housing Inc. has met the required assessment threshold, deemed them eligible for a development incentive. Therefore, be it resolved that we approve application 1-2022 of Neepawa Kinsman Senior Citizen Housing Inc. providing for a development incentive as per section 2-13 of bylaw 316-17, resulting in the phasing in of the general municipal portion of taxes over a 3-year term starting in 2022. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Deputy Mayor Headley removing himself from conflict. We're now moving into the same thing for the Neepawa Glasstone Co-op. Is that correct? Colleen?
Yeah, so the co-op actually built a new 15,400 square foot cold storage lumber shed or an auto stack type building. It was also came in on the supplemental assessment for a period of 8 months. So under our bylaw, because I don't have a full year to work with, I'm asking actually for approval to start their program, which would come to the actually start in 2023. They qualify under the commercial and industrial tax incentive. Part B, which said any development that increases the assessed value of the property by a minimum of $1 million would get the 4 years at 80, 60, 40, and 20% reduction. Their assessment came in at greater than $2 million, so they qualified by double the allotment. That was the criteria. So I'm suggesting that the approval go forward and be applied to the year 2023 on for a term of 4 years. I don't have a value for you at the moment taxation because I am not actually applying any credit to this year's tax rate.
Okay, if we're comfortable with that, we'll move forward with the resolution. Moved by Councilor George, seconded by Councilor Butler. Whereas the Neepawa Gladstone Cooperative has constructed a new 15,400 square foot cold storage lumber shed at 300 PPH 5 North and has submitted an application under bylaw number 3176-17 to be considered for a development incentive. And whereas the town of Neepawa is now in receipt of the 2022 supplemental assessment information confirming that the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op Limited has met the required assessment threshold, deeming them eligible for a development incentive. Therefore, be it resolved that we approve application 2-2022 of the Neepawa Gladstone Cooperative Limited, providing for a development incentive as per section 2.14B of bylaw 3176-17, resulting in the phasing in of the general municipal portion of taxes over a 4-year term starting in 2023. All in favor? Carried.
The town of Neepawa will be looking to purchase a hangar at the airport for use by visiting aircraft, as well as a potential site for a future training program. The land at the airport is owned by the town, which leases it out to the hangars, but the buildings themselves are privately owned and many of them are not currently being used for their original purpose.
Okay, the town is purchasing some property. Colleen.
So a piece of property came up. It is a hangar actually at the airport. So everybody knows town Neepawa owns the airport property. People that own hangars up there actually lease their hangars, or lease the property that their hangars sit on up there. So a particular hangar came up for sale. Internally, we took a good look at this and very preliminary spoke with council about it. We are looking to purchase this particular hangar owned by Bruce Cook for a value of $12,500. And the idea being that we do get calls here once in a while for people that would like to land a plane and possibly store it somewhere at the airport. We don't have the ability to do that right now. And we also, in the past, have been questioned about whether the possibility exists of having a training center out there for learning how to fly planes. So we figured this is an opportunity that for this type of value, we could own a hangar and maybe allow, through economic development, the promotion of a training center at our airport in Neepawa, or just evolve somehow so that we could offer overnight storage or something for a plane should one come. So $12,500 is what was agreed upon with Mr. Cook, and if you're supportive of this resolution and moving forward, we would conclude this deal.
Any comments? Yeah, Councilor Jarrett.
I'm also very supportive of this because in the past we've seen a lot of hangars get used for private storage and not hangar facilities out there. So I know there's a way we can also ensure that doesn't happen with this facility. So I think that's a good thing.
No, I think that's a good statement. Thank you, Jarrett.
Perennial agenda item Park Lake comes up again this week. The new bridge has now opened and the temporary culvert will be removed once it is environmentally approved. Due to rising costs over the last couple of years since the town originally applied for the disaster assistance program, all of the rebuilding tenders came in over budget. After conversations with the province, they confirmed that we can proceed with the project and will not be responsible to cover the difference. Council proceeds to accept a tender and hopes to be completed by the end of 2023, but it is flexible with that date due to the current demand on the construction industry.
So everybody's probably wondering when they're going to see some action at Park Lake. I think you've most recently all been aware that the bridge is opened. The old culvert system that was put in there, and I shouldn't say old, the temporary culvert system is still under review with the Department of Finance, or Transport, to make sure the removal is done according to their terms. So it's currently was advertised for removal. We'll see that go on hopefully in the next month, maybe. But in the meantime, the work continues on Park Lake. So Neepawa continues to remediate and restore all infrastructure damage during the 2020 flood. Approved for disaster financial assistance, Neepawa engaged the services of Stantec Consulting to investigate the restoration of Park Lake to the pre-disaster conditions. In doing so, it was understood that the project had to meet all current day standards and the Canadian Dam Association dam safety guidelines. After a lengthy review, which included hydraulic and geological testing, Stantec prepared a detailed design to restore Park Lake based on meeting those current day standards. The design takes into account the replacement of the dam structure, the spillway, and remediating all the flood damaged areas. So the project did go to tender with the closing date of August 5th, and upon reviewing the tenders, it was clear that the actual cost of the project was greater than the value originally estimated as part of the disaster financial assistance claim. Those projections at the time were just a very vague pre-estimate based on the knowledge at the time, based on the construction industry at the time. It was difficult to come up with that estimate. To ensure funding is in place to proceed with the tender, knowing that these bids came in higher than the pre-estimated value, I took the time to communicate with Manitoba Emergency Measures Organization to discuss the tenders that we did receive and look at measuring them against the preliminary cost estimates. I guess the concern at the time was that we would have to fund the difference or we would not proceed with the project. So after reviewing the tenders, I sent everything to them. Manitoba Emergency Measures did confirm Neepawa has the ability to proceed with the remediation of Park Lake. They do concur with the recommendation of Stantec Consulting to accept the bid of Tri-Port projects in amount of $11,027,810. It is, just so you know, the bids did come in anywhere about $10,500,000 up to almost $15 million. They measured them based on criteria that they take into account insofar as experience in doing these jobs, the sub-tenders that are coming in, the materials that are going to be provided, the insurance and liability that they associate with the bid package they're bringing in, and felt that actually the number 2 competitor was the bid to go with based on mostly experience and the concrete that they're going to provide with the spillway. So with Manitoba Emergency Measures Online agreeing that this will all be covered under disaster assistance, there will be no cost to Neepawa. They do support the recommendation of going to Tri-Port projects. We're hoping you will as well as the council, and we can get them working on that.
So how does that work? I understand it's all funded, it's all being paid for with 90% by the federal government, correct? 10% by
100%.
Okay. Oh, what's wrong?
It's closed through the province, so
Okay.
to be clear, the
Okay.
money's come through your province, but it all comes federal.
Okay, so does Denise or does anyone in the town have control on what's happening out there? Like, do you show up and go, how's it going? Or
Attend a construction meeting, but for the most part, it's all being managed by Stantec.
so you would sit in a construction business?
We talk to them regularly.
Okay, but once this general contractor engages, it's his show.
Yep. Well, there's some collaborative work, but I think they're in charge.
Okay, and then was there a timeline? Did I miss that? Was there a
They're
timeline?
hoping to be done by the end of 2023, but they kind of left it open-ended for the bidders because of, let's face it, they're all bogged down in the construction industry. It's very difficult to get contracting now. So they felt if they tightened the reins too much on the timeframes, we were going to get the bids that maybe weren't complete or people that just didn't want to bid. So to make sure we got sufficient amount of bids, they felt that we would let them set the schedule.
Okay, any other comments? Yeah, Councilor Curran?
And the work that's being completed is about spillway replacement, dam replacement, no way covers dredging of the lake basin. It's the disaster financial assistance only replaces what was damaged in that flood event.
Yes, so they will create pockets though to reutilize some of the material that exists in the bed there.
Yeah.
But they will not be dredging. When we talked at the very early onset of this project, knowing we'd like to have a dredge, you may as well add $2 or $3 million to the project. We would have to fund that. We just don't have it. And in the end, all the information that came back, there's not going to be a sufficient turnover of water in there to make it anything more than it is. It's going to be ducts and very minor activity, more of an environmental impact than a recreational per se. So you might we're trying to create pathways for canoes around the edges and things like that, but that's the limitations as far as recreation.
Also covered were the regular financial reports, proceeding with an active transportation study for the town, safety concerns regarding overgrown foliage, and the presentation of a plaque from Agassiz MLA Eileen Clark. You can view end-to-end coverage of the Town Council meeting elsewhere on the NACTV schedule, including immediately following this. We welcome your feedback on this program, and if you have any questions or things you'd like to see clarified or discussed, you can reach us 204-476-2639 or by email at nactvnews@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.